here. So thanks everybody for joining us. Today we have Joe and Liza, dad and daughter team, which is so exciting. Love the dynamic between these two. I love to always tell you guys like how I met people or why I included them in the Zoom. And I met Joe. Do you remember where we met, Joe?
Officially, I think in an Uber going to one of the Luxury Pro meetings or either Mega Camp. So
Yeah, I think it was the Luxury Symposium.
okay, all right.
Yeah. So we are, I'm not the most outgoing person, like in person, like, here I'm good with the one-on-one stuff, but in person, I'm a little quiet. I think Tony can speak to that for me. He can vouch for me that I'm a little quiet. But we were doing the chat for Luxury Pro, and we landed at the same time. So we're looking for people to jump in an Uber together. I don't think so much to save money, but just to like meet people. And so Joe and I were the lucky winners that ended up together and had a great ride. I think we'd met before, but that was where we really got to talk and get to know each other. So it was a very well needed Uber ride. So I was appreciative of that. And then of course, Liza is everywhere. So it's bigger than life. It's funny. I told my team, I said, I think Joe is kind of like me and Liza's my crystal. So I love the dynamic with you guys. So let's just jump right in here. I'm going to start with Joe. Sorry, Liza. I'm going to start with Joe.
Age before beauty.
And you've been doing this for how long, Joe?
26 years.
26 years. Okay.
All
and
right.
Liza
No,
joined
I'm sorry. 23 years. Sorry. Sorry.
Okay. All right. That's still a formidable amount of time. And when did Liza join you?
4 years ago. Came as director of ops first.
Oh.
And then was our director of ops for about a year, and then wanted to get her license, and she was earned in luxury within 6 months. So
wow, that's impressive. Most people don't get earned in for years, right?
So,
all right, so Joe, tell us a little bit about your business. We'll bring Liza in a little bit, but tell us a little bit about the business, for all those years before she joined. Kind of what's your secret sauce? What is it that makes Joe different than the guy down the street?
So I started, I had a fairly decent sphere of influence. I grew up in the hospitality business. We still have a hospitality business of sorts here in Nashville. So I had a decent pool of contacts to start with. Healthcare is our #1 industry here in Nashville. We have Vanderbilt University, we have Meharry Medical College, and now we have Belmont Medical College. And at the time, I started really in medicine and working with largely residents as they were starting their training. And then because of our sphere of influence, also worked through and with some of the attendings that I knew personally, and really started. And to this day, probably if we had to draw a line in the sand and describe our largest niche of business, it would probably be through medicine.
Okay. That's pretty cool. So, there's a lot of people on this Zoom that maybe they don't live in an area where there is a lot of medicine, or, they just don't know anybody in the medical field. So I always try to kind of relate what you guys do to something that maybe they would understand or would be in their world, right? So it doesn't necessarily have to be for them, physicians. It could be really anything, but just finding that niche for them, right? Like it could be attorneys, it could be financial planners, whatever that is, that kind of continues to grow. But it sounds like
engineers, try and find businesses or companies where there is a lot of I don't want to say turnover, but in the medical field, to go back to that, there is a lot of turnover. You know, somebody will come to Nashville and train, and then they're off somewhere else, and then they may come back, and really trying to make people that are hiring lawyers, for instance. I know there are lawyers in every town, everywhere. So, and that's a constantly moving pool of people. Engineers, same way. So try to get to the admin of the CEO or the managing partner and make their lives simple. And that's how we started. So.
Right. And Joe, you just said, you led me into my next question, because when you and I chatted in the Uber, and one of the things that you said to me was that you're not just selling them a home, you are actually selling them a whole lifestyle. Like you are actually, you know, white glove service where you are helping them with everything that they need. I think you mentioned like connections to private schools, connections to country clubs, making those introductions for people that wanted to get into those different kind of environments.
Yeah, and you know, right on down to we really try to immerse ourselves in their lives, and you know, if they've got a competitive swimmer in the family, Liza swim competitively, so we know who those people are in Nashville. We know the ice rinks. If somebody has a budding hockey star, we know and I had three, or we have three children. Liza's the youngest. So a lot of that we learned as we went, you know, and they were all varied in their hobbies and sports. So.
Yeah, I think that's great. So you're actually, you know, you're really getting to know these people and really helping them out and being supportive of them. Liza, are you involved in that part of the business too, in terms of that?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I probably write maybe 3 letters every year to help children get accepted into a middle school or a high school. I've been successful for at least one student every year for the past 4 years. So I'm definitely very involved in that. And then, I mean, we specialize in giving these in-depth tours as well. So when people come into town, I mean, we spend about 6 hours to 8 hours with them in a car, and we base the tour off of their specific lifestyle. It's not just let's go see some houses. We barely even see homes when we do the tour. We will go to splash pads if they have kids and they like that, playgrounds. I've gone to cheer gyms. And I mean, I've gone line dancing with someone who wanted to move to Nashville to go line dancing. So at 2 p.m. on a Wednesday, there I was. And teach their own. That's not my thing. But we really try to sell Nashville and sell the different communities, because people are so scared when they're moving from a different state. They don't know the area. So because I was born and raised there and my dad was born and raised there, and you don't have to be, you just need to know your area. But we really try to help people feel comfortable and confident in choosing their community. And we can talk about me later, but I mean, a lot of the people that I work with are through recruiters and HR departments. And even if they don't go to that specific company, they still choose Nashville because of our tours.
You're selling them the whole city, the whole lifestyle. I love that. And then, so I'm guessing that these people, you know, once you put them in a house, they're staying in touch with you because you are the go-to people. If you gave them a great recommendation or a great letter to get into a country club or a school, I mean, that's a friend for life, right? They're not going to list with somebody else when it comes time to sell.
Sandra, I'll tell you a story, and it has a sad note to it, but you never know how you're going to affect someone's life. I had a client some years ago that was involved in research, and I sold her a home, and stayed in touch with her every not we're back in touch with clients more than ever now, but back then, I would reach out to her every 6 months to a year, just touching base with her. Well, sadly, she had cancer, and I got a call from one of her family members, and her family member, who was from up north somewhere, had never met me, and she told me that my client carried this. I had sold her home 10 years ago, or 10 years had passed. My client carried my business card in her wallet, and
Wow.
that's how, just because I was kind to her, and that's how she found me, or how the family member found me, and they were settling the state to sell her house. But you never know how you're going to act or impact someone's life.
Wow.
So,
I think that's like the biggest review you could ever get. Somebody that 10 years carried around your business card, and you outlasted her life in your
right.
relationship with her. I mean,
Yeah.
that's heartwarming. That's so, I know it's sad, but it's so touching at the same time that you were the one.
Yeah, it blew me away back then. So, yeah.
Well, that's nice. Liza, I saw that you teach swimming classes.
Yes.
And I'm guessing you don't need the money teaching swimming classes. I think,
No.
you guys probably sell enough real estate that you don't need to do that. So tell me a little bit about why you do that.
I just love it. I love coaching. So I head coach for a school here in Nashville, actually where I went to school. And fun fact, 5 girls that I've coached are going to the Olympic trials. So that's amazing.
Wow, you just gave me chills.
Yeah. But it's so fun. I obviously, like he said, I swam competitively growing up, and I started coaching when I was 11, 6 and unders, and I just fell in love with it. And so this is my 16th year coaching and teaching lessons. So,
Wow.
and I do it to clients too, and I get clients from it. So
I imagine, I would
Yeah.
totally imagine that you do. So you've done a nice job of like blending your passion, which is swimming, with real estate, which is probably another one of your passions. So we've blended those together, and now none of it is work because you're just enjoying it, and you're getting clients from teaching while you're doing something you enjoy.
Yeah.
So what a great system that you've set up there.
Mhm.
I love that.
And it's a value add.
And I love that you post. I mean, you post a lot on social media. Like, you are an open book, which I love. I absolutely love that. I always say, what, if I'm going to do it in real life, I should be able to post it, because I'm not going to do anything I'm embarrassed about, right? So, and I feel like you're the same way, where you're like, you know what, this is me, and this is what I do, and I love that, because just looking at your social media, I totally feel a sense of who you are and how fun you are.
Well, thank you.
So tell me a little bit about your social media and like what your thought process is there, and just how much it seems like you enjoy it a lot.
Yeah, I mean, for my Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook, I'm definitely, a very open book. I'm going to post about whatever, because I feel like that's how people can connect to me. I know that I'm not the only person in the whole world to go through this stuff. And so, I mean, I recently posted about how I gained some weight after getting into production, and over 200 people reached out to me after I posted just on my story. And I mean, it was just a simple post, and I really didn't think anything of it. I was just saying, like, hey, this happened this year. It was more so holding myself accountable, because this year I really want to focus on my mental health and setting boundaries within work, and getting back to a place where I am mentally and physically fit and also successful in my business. And so I'm starting to share more about that. But I mean, to have over 200 people reach out to one story, I was flabbergasted. I didn't even realize it. But I wish that I could say that I had a method to those platforms like Instagram, TikTok, and LinkedIn, but I really don't. I just kind of post who I am, so that people can see and get to know the real me. And then LinkedIn is where I do most of my work. And I still show who I am. I talk about gratitude and love and light and all of that stuff. But I really use LinkedIn to promote the professional side of me, and also get business.
Nice. But you know, with your social media piece, aside from LinkedIn, I mean, we really get to see, I feel like, into your soul from the things that you post. And you know, that post that you said that got the 200 people. I mean, you know that there's so many people out there struggling with the same thing, whether it's weight or, you know, maybe drinking a little bit too much, you know, so many different things that people are struggling with. And when you're vulnerable like that, you know, you really can connect with people. And there's so many people going through the same thing, not, you know, something similar. So it's nice that you gave them a venue to see that somebody else is struggling with something. Yeah. And I think in real estate here, you know, we're at the level that you're at, you're very busy, you're very stressed, like you're nonstop going. So it is hard. We have to take that time to slow down and take care of ourselves in order to take care of our clients and our family the way we should.
Yeah.
So good for you.
Thank you. I just try to be as authentic as possible. And I really don't, I mean, my dad started laughing a second ago, but I really don't know how not to be authentic. I just like can't help myself from being weird.
I
Sandra,
say larger than life. That's what I say to Crystal, who remind me of her. I say she's larger than life. When she walks in a room, the room just lights up. And I feel like that's you. When you walk in a room, the room just lights up.
Thank you.
So Sandra, I'm more black and white, I guess, in my dealings with the clients. And Liza likes to say, now, Dad, that you've sucked all the life out of them, I'll take them out and they'll have a better time or a fun time.
I love that. I love that. We got the good cop, bad cop kind of thing going on here.
Yes.
I love that. So I know you guys get a lot of referrals from people around the country, you know, agents sending you leads of people that are moving to your area. So talk to me a little bit about that, I know you've come up with a little bit of a process for that. I know part of it is that you're just, again, naturally outgoing. Joe may not be as outgoing as Liza, but he still will share an Uber with people. So, you know, he's not that shy. So talk to me a little bit about that and how that helps your business.
I mean, we've been very intentional about our referrals for now probably 2 or 3 years. We've just been making huge strides in that regard. And we do a couple of things that I think are important to point out. I mean, we're going to the Luxury Pro events for those of us that are with KW. We're going to the Luxury Symposium. We're going to Family Reunion, Mega Camp. And then we have another organization that we're a part of that's actually broker agnostic. And the reason being, there are approximately 90 people a day moving to Nashville.
Wow.
And like Florida, you know, they're coming from states with state income tax largely and trying to escape state income tax. So we feel like it's important to reach out to other brokerages as well. And then also, you know, all of us that run big referral-based businesses, all of us spend a lot of money to get there, kind of thing. And so we're kind of two-tiered in how we do it. If Tony Navarro runs into somebody at lunch today and they happen to be at another brokerage, and Nashville happens to come up, and that other brokerage agent has a need, and Tony calls us up and makes a warm handoff, we compensate the direct referral 25%, and then we compensate Tony 5% for making the introduction to us. And a lot of our referral partners, we just had one that came in this week, and they told us, we're introducing you to this agent because we love you, but we feel pretty strongly about giving back, because they didn't have to mention us, you know.
Mhm.
And
I love that. I've never heard that strategy before. This is what's so much fun about doing the Zoom is I always learn something that I've never even heard of before on here. And I love that. That's a great strategy. And you could do that on so many different levels, right?
Sure.
You could.
Sure.
It makes me think of my daughter. This is kind of a funny story. My daughter just graduated from college. So her friends are parents, you know, all empty nesters now, and they're starting to move. And she's like, well, what's my referral fee? And I'm like, well, do you have a license? No. And she's like, how about a couch? Can you buy me a couch? I'm like, I'll buy you a couch. For $1 million listing, I will buy you a couch.
Another, and it's, we don't do it because we don't have a huge population of, we're getting there, but we don't have a huge population of high rises here in Nashville. But a lot of our colleagues across the country that are in larger cities, New York, Chicago, they're going to doormen at the different high rises and getting, hopefully, those doormen and women licensed to where, because they're in direct contact with, you know, people that you want to be in contact with.
Yeah.
And then the doormen and women make a referral fee once they're licensed from an agent that actually does the work. So
right. I love that. So what else? I think I got, and I wish I tried to find it, but I couldn't. I think I might have it at my house, but I think I got a book from you guys, a notebook that's got your logo and stuff on it when we went to the Tampa Luxury Pro. So that was fun. I love those little books. Yes, there it is. I love that. So I can't forget you guys, right? Even if I didn't keep that and I left it somewhere, I still remember that you guys gave that to me. And I'll remember you're from Nashville. Just because I had it, you know, with me at some point, I'll still remember it. So anything else you guys do like that?
Liza, you want to talk about that? I mean, we've got mugs that we give, and we try not to, you know, somebody that's coming into town, we try not to give them a coffee mug that they're going to have to schlep back to wherever they're coming from. The journals work pretty well because we give those to our clients and also our referral partners. But it starts out as that's what they can take their notes on as we go through the city. So
I like it.
That's probably our best thing that we do, but we do other things too. Liza, you want to?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we do the journals, but we do just a lot of things involving Nashville and the Haw Group. So we give out Goo Goo clusters, which were
I saw that on your Facebook page.
Yes, that created in Nashville. So it's a little taste of Tennessee, and we do that to our clients as well. And then, you know, I think just loving on our referral partners when we get to see them. I will say that I am not as good at sending gifts systematically throughout the year as some of y'all are, because I get showered and it's so nice. But I think just whenever I get to see them, just, giving them a goo, a journal, whatever, over Christmas time, maybe sending a mug that says sipping on Southern hospitality. That's my favorite one. But
I love it.
but just really getting really punny and and making sure that it's something memorable that people will look at and feel something, because Caroline always says that luxury is something that you can see, smell, feel, like all of the senses. So we want y'all to be able to feel that warm, fuzzy feeling when you get something from us.
I love that. I love that. So another thing that you guys did, I saw you did a songwriter sanctuary.
Yes.
And that looked really cool. And then also you did if you would touch on both of them, you did a bikes event as well. And
Yes.
It looks to me, so tell us a little bit about that and what went into that.
Yeah. And so the songwriters, it's called Songwriter Sanctuary. It's once a quarter. So the next one is actually June 27th. But it honestly started, one of our buyer's agents is a songwriter herself. And fun fact, she also used to be a client. But there is an initiative in Nashville that helps artists and musicians, anyone in the industry, with down payment assistance and closing cost assistance. And not everyone knows that. And so we partnered with that lender to host these free songwriting retreats. And I mean, the first one was so amazing. About like 40 people came,
Wow.
60 people signed up, but the news covered it. We had a Grammy winner songwriter come and speak, and we have for June, we have Megan Maroney's songwriter coming to speak as well. And then it's just something that is so Nashville, and just such music city, and then giving back to it as well. But where anyone can come, and then you hear from a very successful songwriter, and then you break out into different co-writes. And then at the end of the day, it's just one massive writers round, which is, it was so fun. And I cannot wait to do it quarterly.
That sounds really fun and just really like feeding your soul, right?
Yeah.
Does it inspire you? I want to start writing some music. I think I'd want to try if I was there.
And I wrote a little hook when I was there.
Oh.
Normally I'm just a karaoke girl, but and I'll still leave it to the pros. But it did inspire me to write, and it's so cool to see all of the talent coming from people. And I mean, there were songwriters of all different levels. There were new songwriters, and there was also a writer that wrote songs for Jimmy Buffett there, which was crazy.
Wow, that is so cool. I absolutely love that. I love that idea. I love that it doesn't have to be thousands of people or hundreds of people. Really, you probably got more out of it having 40 than if you had 200. That's one of the things that I think we struggle with. We always want it to be big. If it's not big, it's not a success. If we didn't have 200 people, it's not a success. But I think sometimes it's actually more successful to have fewer, where you can actually talk to them and get to know them better.
Yeah. And it's intimate and feels more intentional. I mean, I feel like we would love it if there would be 200 people, but I mean, 40 people for the first one is amazing. And I mean, so many people have told their friends about it. And I mean, people came up to us and said that it changed their life that day, which was wild, because I just didn't even think that it was going to be that big of a deal. I just thought that it was going to be a fun day, but people are going through things, and people turn to writing after 15 years, which I mean is a huge thing for a lot of people.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it looked like a lot of fun. So tell us about the other one. You had a bike event.
Yes. Well, so it was our client appreciation event, but one of our clients owns the BMW Ducati motorcycle dealership in Nashville. So we said, you know, hey, how about we do a joint thing so you can invite your VIP clients because they just had their anniversary as well. So we kind of did a HA group client appreciation and their client appreciation as well, anniversary party, and then just kind of joined it all together. And that was a lot of fun as well. And it obviously allowed us to meet some of their clients. We paid for all of it and had sponsors pay for it. So it was a good value add for that client as well. And it was just a fun time.
Yeah, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. Now I'm literally sitting here thinking, who of my past clients has like something like that, a big store or a hotel or something? I like that. That's brilliant. Yeah, sorry, I can't ask any more questions because I'm busy thinking. Sorry. Oh, that's awesome. Okay. What else do you guys? Oh, I know. I saw another thing that you guys do, a neighborhood open house. I saw people playing ping pong at your open house. Tell us about that. I've never had an open house with ping pong. So
yeah. So every luxury listing that we have, we try to do a neighborhood open, and it's really just an event that we host so the neighbors can see the home before it hits the market. Because a lot of the times the neighbors know someone who wants to be in that community. And this listing that you probably saw, it was the perfect listing to do this and perfect timing. So we rented a little shaved ice truck, pulled the ping pong table out, and we had about 67 people come through. And I mean, we've gotten some really hot leads from that as well. And also just formed great relationships with the neighbors and kind of allowed our sellers to have one last kind of big goodbye to their neighborhood because they've built such a community there. And so it was nice to see them, you know, enjoy the shaved ice and have their sons play with his not girlfriend. It was just a really good time, like a very good feel good time.
I mean,
okay, so the seller was actually there.
Sure. Yeah.
So did you market this as a like come say goodbye to your neighbor, or how did you actually market that?
A sneak peek of the listing and just kind of an exclusive neighborhood open. And I will say this specific one, obviously we were really well positioned within the neighborhood, but we weren't allowed to door knock. We weren't allowed to really send out like flyers or anything like that. So we were able to post on their neighborhood Facebook page. And then just as people were riding bikes by, they're like, hey, come get some shaved ice. And they were like, well, how much is it? Free.
So normally what we're doing is we're door knocking around the neighborhood open. So we'll go door to door and we try and have, per the whole team, 100 conversations. So in other words, we're not just leaving a flyer and being on our merry way. We're actually knocking on the door. And obviously we get some that, you know, you're soliciting. No, I'm not. I'm inviting you to a party and that we're hosting for your neighbor. And so it does diffuse them a bit, even the most hardened people. And they genuine, they're going to come anyway, because they're curious about the house. And this gets them there. They feel a little special because they can come and it's exclusive to the neighborhood. And, you know, most people that live in a particular neighborhood, they don't hate where they live. So we want them to go out and tell their friends, hey, there's a house available in our neighborhood. I saw it tonight. So
very cool. There's so many you know, when we do things like there's the direct impact and then there's all of the other impacts. And I feel like what you're doing there has impact on so many different levels. You know, not just the event itself, but then people talking about it and people thinking, hey, I want to have a party thrown for me when I move. So I'm going to list with them, right? Like there's so many results from it, I think.
We're beginning to, or we have been using geofencing too.
Okay.
It's expensive, but we're writing an offer today, one that came in through geofencing.
Wow, great.
And
Well, good luck.
I don't pretend to know anything about it. That's my technology.
Yeah, I was curious that you were taking that on.
Yeah, whatever.
But it is cool. And for those that don't know what it is, and you might have said it, that it cut out for a second, but it's creepy, but very effective. So those buyers that we're writing an offer for our listing, they don't know that we used geofencing to get them, and they probably will never know. But you can pinpoint a specific location and target every single person that is on their phone. And so I've targeted parent teacher nights. I've targeted, middle school and high school graduations, which is what I did for this past listing, as well as some parks in the area. But anyone that is on their phone, an ad will pop up. And just like if you're scrolling on Instagram or on Safari, whatever, an ad will pop up of the home. And then if you click it, so it has to be a well-made ad so that it is click worthy. But once you click it, you capture all of their information.
Oh,
and
wow.
Then you have Hulu on your phone, you have Netflix on your phone, all of this stuff. You go home, those accounts are on your TV. So then you can play a commercial of the house. And so it just keeps on showing up at those people's homes just because they clicked on one ad because they were on their phone in one specific area.
Wow, that's powerful. That's really
super
powerful.
creepy, but it's effective.
Yeah. So somebody put in the chat, they were asking what provider you use for that.
So we've used a few different ones, all of them local to Nashville. That's what I definitely would suggest. I would go to a local company that does it and not a national company. And that's what was told to me. We got this idea from actually the first Luxury Pro meeting in New York. And the Wadia Architecture uses it. But he said, go for a local company. So any tech company, advertising agency should be able to do it.
All right, cool. Awesome. So I'm going to open it up to some other questions. Crystal, do we have any questions in the chat that we should answer first?
Not a whole lot, just more so about the geofencing. Not
That's
really
it?
any specific questions. No.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll open it up to everybody else. If you have any questions, now is your chance. This is you've got two very different personalities here. If you have any questions about their business or about, anything you want to get recommendations on.
I just had a clarity question because I kind of missed the 25% referral that you do. I know Sandra was really impressed with something additional. What was the additional thing I missed?
The additional is if there is an introduction from a third agent, and we compensate them for that introduction. So, in other words, if an agent doesn't know us, agent one knows us, goes to lunch with agent two is actually the one that needs a source in Nashville, and it comes up in conversation, we still compensate our agent one for the introduction, and then agent two, we give them 25%. And I learned this at family reunion of an agent that was doing hundreds of transactions a year. And she was doing, I think, 1 or 2% to the introducing party, but most of our business is luxury, and that's why we do the 5%, because it, at that level, it's not chump change. And
Yeah.
Right.
and so,
That's great.
yeah.
So I know you guys go to a lot of events. How do you balance it? That's one thing that I struggle with, is how do we balance like actually working and doing all the networking at the same time? Like I really struggle, and we're spending a lot of money on the networking and the traveling. So any tips on that?
I can answer that. So I do as I'm told. I get to go to 1 or 2 or 3 events a year, and Liza takes the rest, and she makes me stay back and do the work. So that's the way it usually happens.
That's not true. We alternate and we share. It's 50-50. So he's gone to every single Luxury Pro event minus Tampa so far this year.
She's calling you out, Joe.
And then I will be going to Portland and Denver and Park City because I have the biggest databases there. And then he'll follow it up and make my mom angry again by going to California in December. And then we both go to Mega Camp and Symposium and Family Reunion and everything like that. So we share those. But it is really nice to have each other to lean on in terms of just being physically present. But again, I'm working on my work-life boundaries this year. But I mean, I was on a snorkeling tour in Belize and still answering questions from clients. So, I mean, I take my work with me, and I kind of organize my day so that I get the majority done in the morning, and I can still go out and be present with, whether it's a work function or leisure, be present later that day.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I hear that, questions about that asked a lot. If you're with family and doing family things, how are you balancing that? I know my agents ask me that a lot. Like if you're, my kids are grown and gone. So when they are here, it's like you're trying to spend really good quality time. It's, how do we balance that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I just have 2 dogs. So it's really my dad that has to balance that. And he works with one of his daughters. So.
Yeah, and to me, there's not a right or wrong answer there. I mean, kudos to those that are able, that have established the boundaries with their clients, and they can shut their phone off at 6 o'clock and open it back up the next day at 8 a.m. I've in the number of years that I've been doing this, I've never done that. I feel like my doctors, that I feel like I have to be available when they're available.
Mm-hmm.
And, during the day, a lot of them are in the OR doing what they do.
Mm-hmm.
And so it is nighttime when we're corresponding back and forth. And
Right. And I feel like you guys, you really do white glove service. So I can't imagine you guys ever saying, you know what, I'm done at 6. You can't call me after 6. I think that's part of who you are, that you want to be there for them when they need you.
Yeah,
for sure.
And we're trying to get their lives jump started in Nashville, and everything having to do with that. So
I love that. So I don't know if we have any other questions. I can keep coming up with questions because
I actually have a question.
I love to ask questions. Go ahead, Crystal.
Okay, so yeah, I was really intrigued by the tour that you guys mentioned, or Liza mentioned, and how you come up with that. Obviously, I'm sure you're having a buyer consultation. If this person's coming from afar, I would assume it's some sort of Zoom, and you're kind of getting to know the client. how are you determining, how much time, and especially like with the buyer broker agreements that are, now being enforced, like what does that conversation look like? How do you determine, just how much time you're willing to put into the client, I guess?
They all get about 5 or 6 hours, Crystal, whether they're a $200,000 buyer or a $4 million buyer.
Mhm.
And so are you securing the relationship via the Zoom? I mean, how is that relationship secured? So you feel that the relationship is, how do they call it?
I think you're saying worthy of your 5 or 6 hours that you're taking
Yeah.
away from your personal time or from another client.
Yeah. Well, you had your mouth open. Do you want to go?
Well, we have done it this way for a number of years. I mean, we're offering ourselves up for that 5 or 6 hours without any hitches or strings attached. So at that point, we're not having them sign a buyer representation agreement. And the reason we do that, particularly in medicine, when physicians are being recruited, sometimes there are 2 or 3 that are vying for the same job. And so when we started this years and years ago, we went to the chairs of the different departments and we said, we're going, and let me kind of backtrack and say that there was an outside company that was doing these tours back when I got involved 20 some odd years ago. But they charged for the tours. So, and they were throwing me a bone every once in a while when their favorites were not in town. And I just said to myself, this is not what I signed up for. And I started going, I was not very popular with that company, but I went to the chairs and I said, I will do exactly what they're doing. And oh, by the way, did I tell you I'll do it free of charge? And I said, I've got to have, though, all of them. I mean, I can't have cherry picking. I've got to have, if there are 3 candidates, I want all 3 of them. And so we're taking all 3 of them out with the hope that 1 or 2 of them will land in Nashville. And sometimes, through that discovery, 1 may be going to the teaching hospital, but 1 may be going through that process, but really they're looking at a private practice deal over here in Nashville. Or with our referral networks now, we're going through this process, but really Seattle is our number 1 choice. And so then we're asking the questions, well, are you working with somebody in Seattle? And then, using our referral partners there to make introductions. So we do it to answer long-winded, we're doing it free of charge. So.
And you're doing it free of charge, not just for the people that you feel you're really going to sell them something, but for people that may not even move to your city.
Right.
However, you're taking it to that next level where it's potentially a referral somewhere else. So I love that. You're really thinking big. Like you're looking at the big picture. You're not looking at the immediate, like, what can I get today?
Right. And, those physicians, they're going to go somewhere and they're going to be exposed to somebody coming to Nashville eventually, and we get referrals that way that are coming from our physicians that either we've worked with in the past or they knew us because we took them on a tour, and they tell Dr. So-and-so, you really ought to call Joe and Liza in Nashville. I didn't wind up in Nashville, but that's who you ought to talk to. So
right. And how do you stay in touch with these people? So you gave them the tour, they decided they moved to Seattle. How are you staying in touch with those people so that if there is a an opportunity for a referral?
Newsletter largely, email, depending on the level of, I mean, I can think of one or two examples, became very dear friends. They moved on. They were in town last year for a travel soccer game, and I went to see their son play soccer, who's now probably 17, and he was 3 when they moved.
Oh, wow.
So, and then, some of them that I worked with as residents, last year, the last thing that I sold for them was they bought a condo at 250,000 and sold it for 300 and something thousand. They went off, did additional training, and had a very decent attending career somewhere else. Then they came back here as a teaching faculty at Vanderbilt, and they bought a $1.8 million house from me last year. So
Nice. The gifts that keep on giving, right? You just got to keep feeding them and nurturing them.
Right. And that's staying in touch with them over long periods of time. So.
Love it.
Sandra, I think Liza wanted to share also about LinkedIn.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Tell us.
Yeah. I just think that it would be really valuable, and that's what I teach my classes on as well. So if anyone's going to Luxury Pro in Portland, I'm teaching on Tuesday. But so I've utilized LinkedIn really just to be competitive with my dad, but to gain those luxury clients. And I am now the preferred partner in 56 different companies, and soon to be 57. And my 57th one will be in Berlin, Germany. So it does work. But obviously it takes a long time to explain it because there is a whole class. But if you do not have LinkedIn, get one. And start updating your profile and start searching people, because it is such an invaluable tool. Because if you think about it, all of our clients are on LinkedIn, networking with other people in their industry. So why shouldn't we be on LinkedIn as well?
I love that. And you're teaching it in the market center there?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
And she will come to your market center.
All right. Bring it on.
I just spoke at the Young Professional Summit. Then I speak in Portland. I'm speaking in New York and Philly and Jersey and some other places this year as well. So
wow, that's great. So, you know what, I can kind of summarize you guys up in whatever you guys do, you do it like with a purpose. Like you guys definitely have a plan and a purpose, and you're doing everything at a high level. The things that you do, like you've created this process where you're doing it and doing it really well.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. And
you probably don't even realize it. You're like, oh no, I'm just doing my job. But no, you guys, like you have a purpose and a plan that you're following, and you're being very, very specific about what you're doing. Oh, they're asking when, where in Portland will you be?
It is next Tuesday, so June 18th at 12 p.m. at Noah Kirschbaum's Market Center. I don't know the name of it, but hold on. I have the address somewhere. 1915 Northeast Stuckey Avenue.
Nice. So we're almost out of time. So before we do run out of time, you want to go ahead and give them your contact information so that if anybody wants to reach out to you directly, they can do that. We can throw it in the chat also.
You want me to put yours in there too, Dad?
Please.
He's still important, Liza. Come on.
And all of you do reach out to us on social media. We'd love that. And you'll see some of Liza's posts with the kindly old white-headed guy that really is the star of the show on occasion.
I love it. So I'm actually moving my daughter to Kingsport on the 24th.
Oh, wow.
I know that. How's it going?
Yeah, she's excited to get started. So I'll be in your neck of the woods, maybe not this trip, but then I'll be out there more. So I'll definitely hook up with you guys in Nashville and we'll go listen to some music or something together.
Please
We'll
do.
give you a tour.
Yay!
Have some
I would
hot
love
chicken.
that. I would love that. You guys have amazing architecture there. That's one thing I really love your videos because I really get a sense of the architecture. From being from here in South Florida, our architecture is so different and I love it where you are. It's so beautiful.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, thanks guys so much. I know I took some notes and I have some things to be implementing here. So I appreciate it. And I know a lot of people on here, I'm sure got some good nuggets and you might hear from a few people. And I'll see you for sure at Mega Camp if I don't see you before then.
All right. Sounds great. Thank
Thank
you
you for having
All
me.
right.
Yes.
Thanks guys. Thanks for taking the time. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.